Now we've seen a lot of ways that we can draw graphics, draw shapes, fills, and gradients, and even patterns now, but there's one more element that we want to be able to use inside of this, and that is text. So let's open up one more file. I'm just going to go over and close the pattern file that we were working on, and we've got a number 7 try canvas text here. I'll open that up in the browser, and we'll go ahead and open it up inside of our TextEdit application as well. Now, as we've seen, we have the option of using normal HTML and using images inside of our website, or we can use this canvas and draw images. And now we have the same option for text as well. This text won't be HTML text. It'll actually be created by JavaScript and addressable inside the canvas just like all the other elements we've been working with. So let's try it out. Now in our document, you can see that I've got the canvas set up and our 2 basic variable lines that get us started. And what we need to do is the drawing, just like before. To create our text, we're going to use the fill text function. So we'll try that out first. Let me add a line here, and we'll start out with context, just like we did before, and we'll call fill text. For this function, we need to specify what text we want to draw and the location of the text. So let me just put in some text that is sample text. We'll use that for now. And for my location, I'm just going to specify 50 pixels and 50 pixels again for X and Y. Let's save our changes, and we'll see what it looks like. When I refresh the page, you can see our sample text shows up. It's right at the 50 by 50 pixel margin, and it's black color, a small size, and looks like Arial. So those are all the defaults that we have to work with our text. Now we do have a couple of options that we can specifically do to text. For instance, we can control the alignment and the baseline, as well as the font and size. So let's try out all those. I'll do a font and size first so we can really see the text. Now first of all, any definition that I'm going to do to modify this text needs to be entered before we call the fill text function. So let me add in a line right here above this one. And the first thing I want to do is specify the font. I'll use context again. And we're just going to define the font property. I'll set that equal to, and I can specify a few different elements that are going to make up our font property. For instance, in this case, I want big, bold text. So I'm going to start off with a bold declaration. Then I'll specify the size. Let's make it really big, like 60 points. And then I'm going to keep with Arial, but I'll go ahead and add that into my definition as well. You can use any font here that you can use in HTML. We'll close that up, save our changes, and we'll see how that looks. Now we can see much bigger text. You can see that the text still is anchored around that 50 pixel by 50 pixel location that we set it up. We can see the bold and the size all in there. And one of the things that we might want to change is also the color. To do that, we actually use our fill style command just like we did on all of our shapes. Let me go back here. And again, I'm going to specify the style before we draw the text. So we'll add it in right above the fill text line. I'll set up context. We'll use our fill style property. And set that equal to just something simple like red. I'll save my change. We'll go back out and refresh the page. And now we've got nice red text. Now I mentioned that we have some other controls that are specific to text, so let's try them next. The first one is text align. This allows us to set left, right, or center alignments, and as you can see, a left alignment is default. We'll go ahead and put that right after the font declaration. Context, text align, and we'll set that equal to center for this one. I'll save my change, refresh the page, and you can see that now the text is center aligned, but it's still using the 50 by 50 pixel declaration for its position. Of course, that means it's shoved off to the left-hand side of the screen, and it's cut off by the left edge of our canvas. Let's move this down into the center. Now, I could specify the exact pixel location of the center, but just for fun, let's have JavaScript measure it for us. I'll go back over to my code, and the first thing I want to do is create a couple of variables. The first one, I'll use my var keyword, and the first one I'll just define as x. And let's set it equal to the width of the canvas. JavaScript can actually go out and grab the canvas, since we have a variable storing our canvas right here, and figure out how wide it is and how tall it is. I'll set up canvas dot width. And we want our x to be the middle of that, so I'm just going to divide that width by 2. Let's do the same thing for y. I'll add a line for our new variable y. And it should be the canvas height divided by 2. So we'll change width to height. Now what I'll do is go down to my sample text declaration here and simply insert the variables. We'll set up x and then y. Let's save our changes and we'll see what we get. Now you can see that the text is dropped right into the center of my canvas, and since we've center aligned it, it's nicely aligned on both edges. Now if you draw an imaginary line underneath the text, you'll notice that the height of the text is set for the baseline representing that y value. Well, we can change the baseline of our text as well. I'll go back in here and add one more property right under the text align property, and this time we'll use context.textBaseline. Now, normally that's set at the bottom of the text, but if I set that equal to middle, then our JavaScript will actually measure the height of the text and set it up so that it's centered right in the middle of the screen vertically as well. Let's save our changes, and we'll try that out. Now you can see the middle of that text box is the center of our screen now. So we can have a lot of control over positioning this text and placing it exactly where we want it in the canvas. Now, as you can see, so far this gives us the option of choosing JavaScript text with our canvas element or normal HTML text. But we've got one more feature that we can try here, and this is something that we can't accomplish in CSS3, and that is draw an outline around the text. Basically, our text is being treated as a graphic element, and we've added a fill to it. But we could also add a stroke, just like our other graphic elements. So let's try that out. Now, since this is a stroke and it's different from the fill, I can put it down here below the fill since it will be separate. We define the stroke just like we do for other graphic elements. So the first thing I'm going to do is set up a stroke style and pick a color. I'll set ours equal to, let's say, blue, just so it's a nice contrast for the red. We can also set the line width. So I'll set up one that's about 3 pixels wide. And then, of course, what we need to do is stroke it. But we need to do the stroke text command, not just a normal stroke command, because this isn't a path. So we'll go down here, and I'll add in context, and we'll use the stroke text function. This works just like the fill text function. As a matter of fact, I'm going to copy what we put in for the fill text function and just simply paste it down in here. That way we'll be drawing the same text, placing it at the same spot, and then adding a stroke to it as well. I'll save our changes, and we'll try it out. Now when I refresh the page, you can see the red fill, the blue stroke around it, and since I'm drawing the stroke last, it's on top of the fill. As we saw before in the graphics, if I switch the order around, I'll end up seeing a little bit thinner stroke line because some of the fill will be covering it up. But there we have text as a graphic element, just like the other drawings that we've been working with.